Today, we are going to explore the Royal Proclamation of 1763, a very important document that set clear rules for how land should be used and respected in North America. In this video, we will explain what the proclamation is, why it was created, what rules it established, how it affected Indigenous peoples, and why its ideas still matter in Canada today. Brought to you by Super Simple Sheets. From coast to coast, worksheets that work. Discover the full range of what we offer at supersimplesheets.com. What is the Royal Proclamation? The Royal Proclamation of 1763 was a law created by the British government after a long war had changed the map of North America. It declared that all the land belonged to the British Crown, and that the Indigenous peoples who had lived there for many generations had rights that needed to be respected. This document made it clear that settlers could not simply take any piece of land they wanted without following a proper process. In simple words, the proclamation said, "Before you claim any land, you must have permission and honor the rights of those who were already here." Why the proclamation was made? After the war, there was a lot of confusion and fighting over who could own which pieces of land, and this led to many disagreements. The British government needed a way to bring order to the new territories and to prevent further conflicts. They realized that the land was already cared for by Indigenous peoples for many years, and it was only fair to protect their rights. The Royal Proclamation was created to set clear boundaries and rules, telling everyone that if they wanted to own land, they must do it the right way with the Crown's approval. It was a simple plan to bring peace and fairness to a troubled time. What the proclamation did. The proclamation did several important things that helped organize the vast lands of North America. It declared that the British Crown was in charge of all the land, which meant that any purchase or claim had to be approved by the government. It also recognized that Indigenous peoples were the first caretakers of the land, ensuring that their territories were respected and protected. Additionally, the proclamation set a rule that settlers could only buy land from Indigenous peoples if the Crown was involved in the negotiation. This helped to make sure that deals were fair and that the rights of the Indigenous peoples were not ignored or taken advantage of. How it affected Indigenous peoples. For Indigenous peoples, the Royal Proclamation was very important because it officially acknowledged that they were the original inhabitants and caretakers of the land. Before this law was made, settlers often took land without asking, leading to many conflicts and unfair situations. With the proclamation in place, Indigenous communities were given a clear message that their lands were special and that any changes to the land needed to be made with respect for their traditions and rights. Even though the system was not perfect and challenges still remained, the proclamation was one of the first times a government said, "Your land matters and we must be fair about it." How it affects us today. Even though the Royal Proclamation of 1763 was written a long time ago, its ideas continue to influence how land is treated in Canada today. The rules and principles set out in the proclamation are still used when discussing land claims and creating treaties with Indigenous communities. It is often mentioned in court cases and government talks as a guide for fairness and respect in land ownership. The ideas behind the proclamation remind us that every person's connection to the land is important, and that fairness is key when making decisions about who gets to use and care for our shared spaces. Final thoughts. The Royal Proclamation of 1763 is a landmark document that set out clear rules about land and showed respect for the Indigenous peoples who had lived there long before settlers arrived. It was created to bring order after a difficult time and to ensure that everyone knew the proper way to claim and use the land. Even today, its ideas help shape our laws and guide our discussions about fairness and respect. By learning about this important piece of history, we can understand how one set of rules changed the way people interact with the land and with each other, laying the foundation for a more respectful and balanced society. Thanks for watching. Simplify your teaching journey with Super Simple Sheets. Across Canada, we're known for our ready-to-use, curriculum-aligned worksheets. Dive into our educational solutions at supersimplesheets.com. Super Simple Sheets. From coast to coast, worksheets that work.